Let's talk about the timing of quitting the job, because this is a very personal decision, and I've seen people burn the boats completely. Like they got 6 months of savings and they quit, which I respect, maybe not necessarily recommend. And then there's other people who hold on a year or two beyond their easily covering their living expenses with passive income. And so, Jenny, talk about why you decided to kind of be, more of the burn of the boats kind of mindset. Why did you feel that was the right time to quit your job?
Yeah, that's it's different for a lot of people, but for me, similar to Steve, right? We sat down and said, what are our priorities, and how do we want to spend our time, with our family? And we moved back to California from Cincinnati just due to being wanting to be closer to the kids' grandparents and my in-laws, and we said, you know what, this job we have in the rat race, we're just traveling too much, and we're not spending the right amount of time that we want, and we're not dictating our schedule as much as we want to. And so how do we get out of that? So like many other folks, we said we want to invest in real estate to get passive income. And so, as I mentioned earlier, we had built a portfolio of single family and it's doing really well. And we said, gosh, we could grow this so much faster if one of us was dedicated to the business. And so, we sat down, we decided that I would leave P&G, have more flexibility and time with the kids. We have two young ones, and we would pursue this multifamily gig. So I kind of did in reverse. I left the corporate world, burned the boats and bridges before purchasing even a single multifamily unit. And then within 10 months, we went from zero to over 800 units. So that was surpassed our goal more than what we thought we could do, especially during a year of COVID. So that was really exciting for us to go accomplish.
And that was clearly probably a function of you being full time, right? I mean, had you not been full time, it either wouldn't happen at all or would have been much slower, right? So is that right? I mean, full time really accelerated your plans.
Absolutely. I think you could just need to make the decision. So, our goal, even before I left my job, we said, we want to purchase at least one deal and be a GP or sponsor by the end of this year. And because I had more capacity to do this, I said, you know what, forget that. Let's see what we can go do. And then the sky was really the limit. So absolutely, the full time app for sure helped. But I think you first and foremost, you have to have the mindset and the take action mentality to even get it started.
Well, you do, but you do have to need to have a financial runway. In your case, your husband was still working,
Correct.
and if the other spouse was not earning enough money, you'd have to have savings for a certain period of time. I mean, there's this reality of finances you can't just ignore and go, I'm quitting, and we'll see what happens with my groceries this month. So you guys had a plan, but it sounds like both you and your husband sat down and talked about this, and it was a joint decision. One of the things I find, though, is it sounds like you had a pretty good situation going on. You had a well-paying job. You had some flexibility because you're in sales. You
Yep.
know, why did you continue moving forward, right? Because a lot of people, they get sucked in by the status quo and their comfort zone, and it's a very strong force that keeps
Mhm.
people in place. I think sometimes being in a relatively comfortable place is actually holds us back in some ways. How were you able to kind of break free from that? Because you're messing with almost perfection, right? From the outside looking in. Steve, he's kind of crazy. He had a good thing going, and now he's taking on a bunch of risk. And so why did you feel that it was a better way to rock the boat and eventually get out of your job versus, and there's nothing wrong with this, staying with your job and just making more money and maybe working on your work hours, your flexibility a bit more? Why did you decide that longer term that was not for you?
Yeah. Well, I think like Jenny mentioned also, it's about mindset, right? So one of the things you mentioned Robert Kiyosaki as well. That was the first book that got me into this. It was Rich Dad Poor Dad,
Yeah.
and then the cash flow quadrant, right? So when I look at the cash flow quadrant, I wanted to be on the right side of that quadrant, be an investor and be a business owner. And you see the tax advantages that do come into play around that. I don't have to make that same income. I made all that the income that I made, I'm taxed at the 50% mark living here in Southern California, right? So that makes it very challenging from that standpoint. Here, and you have to lay all this out. I don't have to have that same type of dollar coming in when you take a look at the tax benefits that we take advantage of as entrepreneurs and as business owners. So always had that yearning to do that. And yeah, a lot of people think, wow, well, actually they think it's really neat. I have a whole bunch of people calling me right now and asking me, how did you do that? And then I just tell the story that we're telling right here. It's actually very basic. You have to take action, number one, right? So, and there's so many resources. There's your podcast, which I listen to on my daily run, right? Everything, if you listen to all those, there's so many different resources today to actually help people get to that next stage. And more people than you think are yearning to do that. They just don't have a pathway to do it. I fortunately have had a lot of good mentors and teachers and a lot of guidance. And I'm a person that wants to take action as well. So maybe it's in my DNA too. So I've always wanted to be that entrepreneur, and it kind of led me into that. And the nice thing about it is the passive income that this does create. You know, I'm in quite a few different passive environments. So I self-educated myself to get there.
All right, it's never too late to break out of corporate America. Here's the thing. I mean, it really isn't. However, it is a very strong, powerful force that keeps you where you are in that comfort zone. You're making great money. You have a nice house, you know, and it sometimes it's very difficult to break out. And both Jenny and Steve show that you can still do it. But you do need a kind of a driving force behind it. And one of the things that you saw was both their families were very supportive, and they realized that they didn't want to be on that trajectory for the next 10, 15, 20 years. They wanted something else. They wanted more flexibility and wanted financial independence. And so getting your family involved is actually super important. Yeah, speaking of, if you want to partner with us at Nighthawk Equity, if you're interested in investing in passive investing, these multifamily syndications, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Head over to nighthawkequity.com, click the join button, fill out a short form, and schedule a call with us. We'd love to have a conversation with you about some of our upcoming opportunities. So anyway, go out there, make it happen, partner. Thanks so much. Catch you guys next time.